So on the topic of letting go, there's a concept of toxic positivity that I didn't really mention in previous videos specifically. I gave examples of what toxic positivity is when I was breaking down how the New Age community and the New Age consciousness gets inside of people and creates this new person that is just a shell within a shell of an individual who is creating another form of entertainment for themselves in order to cope with the ways of the world or whatever. Some people go into the New Age community or the New Age concept or toxic positivity and even toxic negativity because they're escaping something, or maybe they've experienced some kind of abuse or something. On the macro scale, the abuse that we are all experiencing is being handed down by the systems of control and manipulation and forms of gaslighting through toxic positivity and toxic negativity that we don't even pay attention to or label. And a lot of these so-called intellectual institutions like the university system and even the psychological interpretations of what's going on, they don't get into breaking down a lot of the systems that are crucial to empowerment on a large scale and on an individual scale. So this is why you'll see in the psychological institutions around the world, a lot of them don't go into the depths of narcissism or toxic behavior or narcissism on a macro scale. Everything is focused on an individual scale. So you will never see an institution that is funded by the colonial system break down how that colonial institution or that colonial system got to the power, got the system, got that university built under toxic behaviors or narcissistic mentalities. So what I tell a lot of people when they ask me, so you took a year of silence, why did you do it? Part of it is giving a voice to the indigenous nations who have been silenced for years based upon the system of control and toxic behavior and manipulation on every scale. And a lot of that manipulative control comes down to us not knowing as a whole where to start and as an individual where to start. So this is where I'm saying, like, this video is going to focus on helping people figure out a way or a channel into letting go. Every moment that you have is very important. It's very useful to take advantage of that and channel that information or that moment into something that is just not toxic. We're surrounded by so much toxicity that it's refreshing and healthy just to not engage in that. It's just like when people ask, like, what do we got to do to get back to nature? Or what do we got to do this and do that? We'll stop doing the unnatural things first of all. The rest of the stuff will come naturally. When I talk about toxic positivity, you can see in the New Age community, there's a lot of these New Age teachers who are creating this demographic of people who are on this constant or in this movie theater that keeps replaying the movie of infinite enlightenment, infinite awakening, constantly being above the people who are asleep or dead or zombified or whatever you want to call it, separating themselves, but not really having any kind of rooted structures or grasp on anything. I don't want to say reality because that's another trap. Future promising. So always talking about constantly awakening, constantly opening your third eye, or constantly new ways to activate your chakras, new ways to be, these are the woke topics. These are the woke people. The very essence of deep divers, breathing in that good ass dopamine, holy business, car salesman, constantly having to trigger your dopamine mechanisms, constantly selling you false hope, basically selling you the hope of the future, the hope of the awakening. Whether you're waiting on aliens, that was one of the big ones, 2012. And back in 2012, they were talking about, the shift is happening. What people don't realize is that this toxic positivity is a form of manipulation. It's a form of gaslighting, keeping people over here and keeping people over here, making you feel like you don't have something that they have, and you have to seek it out, and maintaining that sense of they have it and you don't because other people obviously don't have it. So this is how the mainstream media fits into the new age community, why people like Oprah and movie stars like Russell Brand are getting into the holy business and teaming up with these spiritual gurus and teachers, is because they have to add credibility to each other by separating themselves from certain groups or certain mind frames. The way they do that is like how Donald Trump is portrayed in the mainstream media, is by creating this space of really, really, really bad, like super mega bad, which creates this idea of really, really super mega ultra good because of the separation between the two mindsets. Progressivism is like this too. It does the same thing. Within the New Age community, you have the toxic hope, constantly living in the future, future promising, externalizing this utopian mindset or this savior complex mindset in the future. Another part of that is creating like these dates of something getting ready to happen. So you had like the big one was 2012, which they're saying now 2020 is the new 2012. What I'm saying is that they're going to have another 2012 in the future after 2020, which will be the positive 2012. So you had the literal 2012, and then you had the negative 2012, which is 2020, and then you're going to have the positive awakening shifting in 2029 or something like that, 10 years from now, 8 years from now, 2028, whatever it is. And in 2025, it'll be something else. QAnon didn't jump off until the anonymous movement jumped off. So you can see how these seeds are planted way back in certain times to bloom into, to grow into something later on. And then they'll just keep building on top of that. And every now and again, the bigger pictures or the bigger systems are played at different times to either distract, pull attention away, or add attention to something else, change the storyline, and continually shift the focus and the consciousness of the people to maintain a lot of the chaos, maintain a lot of the insecurity, maintain a lot of the codependency, all of these things that are directly attached to narcissistic supply, narcissistic control on an individual and on a macro scale. So like I said before, you have this false hope, you have this false promising, politics in general. You have the Democrats who are always promising this and the Republicans who are promising that. And then you have the Republicans attacking the Democrats because of this and the Democrats attacking the Republicans because of that. That's going to go on forever. And that's the intention of that system. So you don't really need to go into the intricacies of the system if you are aware that that's how the system works, is to maintain and attack your time and your power, pulling your power away by pulling your time away and your focus. This is why you have groups like Tesla and the university scientists in the university system who are attached to the government, because that's how they give you those false promises, those promises of the future, promising of green energy or fixing the problems that the system had created in the first place, to divert attention away from them being the center, the epicenter of the problem in the first place. Because if you start to identify where the origins of these problems are, then you will start to empower yourself and also disempower the systems who are creating these problems. They constantly tell you that they intend to do something, but they never really do it. So it's kind of like the cousin to gaslighting. It's another form of gaslighting by manipulating your emotional response and your relationship to them by in your relationship to them, you're thinking, oh yeah, like this person really cares for me. They're thinking about me, but the majority of the time they had no intentions on getting that for you. But since they know that that will trigger a reaction, then they'll say that that's what they wanted to do for you. So this is what politics does all the time. Politics is constantly telling you that they're going to combat invisible things like global warming, problems that were created by the system in the first place, the ocean being destroyed. You're creating narcissistic injury for new age people when you speak about topics that aren't in the new age mindset. Space overall is another part of this insecure, promising going to Mars, promising going to other star systems and engaging with other beings. It also validates the evolution programming of things being so fucked up here in this realm. So they create space where there are aliens in other systems, other star systems who are living on a higher dimension. Also, what this space programming does is it creates this identity of lacking, this identity of never holding yourself accountable for being better than a bag of shit, because that's just the way it is. We're in this evolutionary scale. I mean, if the smartest people in the world are still bombing other countries and still, you know, making other people suffer with poverty and all these other things, then why should the individual be any better than a bag of shit? Because even the smartest people in the world are messing everything up. Another thing that the space programming does by creating these external creatures and higher vibrating aliens and intelligences that are out there is that it shrinks down your dreams. It shrinks down your ability to comprehend something other than this realm. So you have this extreme negative side with this extreme positive. Like I was saying earlier, it has the same effect on you. The extreme demons and darkness and the extreme higher dimensional woke alien beings that won't even come and talk to us because we're in this quarantine, and it feeds off of itself. It repeats itself. It mirrors itself by selling you the same story wrapped in a different package. Progressivism can't be progressivism. It can't be amazing unless you have the mainstream media. Another example of that is the Democrats can't be the Democrats unless you have the Republicans. And the Republicans can't be the Republicans unless you have the Democrats. All of these toxic negativity communities and toxic positivity communities are designed to give you this false grasp on reality, because they're telling you what reality is. In that selling of cars and recruiting of more people into that car salesman lot, that's what they're saying is being awakened is. That's what they're saying wokeness and consciousness is. This higher consciousness is. Come into the car salesman lot and either defend the cars that are in this car salesman lot or recruit more people in to this car salesman lot. And that is the action of being awakened.